From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Patricia Murphy with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Tuesday, June 17th. A federal judge has blocked President Trump's effort to cancel hundreds of grants from the National Institutes of Health. A lawsuit was brought in April by a coalition of 15 states, including Washington. Attorney General Nick Brown says the ruling will allow some medical research to restart at the University of Washington. The judge ruled that the Trump administration's process was, quote, arbitrary when it canceled grants deemed to be focused on gender identity or diversity. In response to the ruling, a spokesperson for the Trump administration said they're exploring all legal options. A prominent farm worker organizer from Western Washington will ask an immigration judge to throw out his deportation order. As Gustavo Segrero reports, supporters rallied today ahead of tomorrow's hearing.
These are the chants of a crowd of around 40 people who marched in front of the immigrant lockup in Tacoma this afternoon. They're rallying in support of Alfredo Juarez Seferino, a farm worker organizer detained at the facility. Liz Darrow is with Community to Community Development, a farm worker advocacy group in Whatcom County. Seferino was arrested by ICE agents after he dropped off his partner to work in the tulip fields earlier this year.
They want us to look away while our friends, neighbors, and loved ones are disappeared. Shame! We are tired. We are heartbroken. And we are outraged. But we must not be silent.
A deportation order was issued for Seferino in 2018. The family contends they were never notified and that he has no criminal record. Less than a week ago, the Trump administration announced they would pause immigration crackdowns on farm workers, but then swiftly abandoned the idea. Gustavo Segrero, KUOW News.
Washington state could receive up to $105 million from a national settlement with Purdue Pharma, the bankrupt pharmaceutical company at the center of the opioid crisis. The deal is the nation's largest opioid-related settlement to date. Washington Attorney General Nick Brown says the money will fund treatment centers and support first responders. The settlement ends the Sackler family's control of Purdue and their ability to sell opioids in the U.S. A bankruptcy court still needs to sign off on the deal. Plans are underway to replace the stolen statue of a young Japanese girl that once stood in Seattle's Peace Park. Ruby DeLuna reports.
The original bronze statue honored Sadako Sasaki, a 12-year-old Japanese girl who died from the effects of the Hiroshima bombing. Sadako's story and the paper crane she folded moved so many people worldwide that she became a symbol for peace. Local artist Saya Moriyasu says she envisions a sculpture of Sadako in a kimono with arms outstretched like a crane.
The feeling of wings is very prominent in putting on a kimono because they have all that fabric. So it's kind of like she's free and not in physical pain. She's the Sadako that never got sick.
Moriyasu says the space will also include the story of Floyd Schmo, the pacifist who helped create Peace Park. Ruby DeLuna, KUOW News.
Scientists say they've seen a surprising number of gray whale strandings this year during their migration up the West Coast, 13 so far in Washington alone, more than twice the normal average, and they're expecting more. KNKX environment reporter Bellamy Palethorpe has the story.
Whale biologist John Kalambakidis says after the unusual mortality event that ended in 2023, scientists expected to see gray whales rebounding. More than a quarter of the population died from 2019 to 2023. With fewer whales around, available food should be enough. Instead, many still appear to be starving. Kalambakidis says it is alarming.
We're seeing unhealthy animals. We're seeing higher numbers of strandings. We're seeing conditions that suggest a continuation rather than a rebound from that mortality event.
He says they're also seeing some unusual behaviors. During a survey last week, they encountered 3 large groups of gray whales attempting to feed in and near Gray's Harbor. While this is an indication of possible adaptability, not all who try will succeed. I'm Bellamy Palethorpe reporting.
REI is a consumer cooperative, so members are also partial owners. But what does that mean in practice? One longtime member is going to court to find out. KNKX Murrow News fellow Nate Sanford has more.
Earlier this spring, REI members voted to reject all 3 of the candidates the company put forward in its board of directors election. The company declined to share how many members voted or how many voted for or against REI's handpicked candidates. They haven't shared it for a number of years now. Mark Lloyd has been an REI member for 4 decades, and he wants to see more transparency.
I believe strongly that the members should have enough information to help have a dialogue.
Last week, Lloyd filed a petition in Pierce County Superior Court, arguing that REI has a legal obligation to release the information to members like himself.
It's an interesting question, of what does ownership mean, because it's not an equity ownership like a large corporation, but it has to mean something. If it means anything, it means that the board and the management has to have transparency to the ownership.
REI has yet to respond to the filing, and a company spokesperson says REI can't comment on pending litigation. A hearing is scheduled for September. Nate Sanford reporting.
In education news, the North Shore School District has announced cell phones will be banned from the classroom starting next school year. A message on the school district's website says mobile devices will not be allowed in middle schools and elementary schools. High school students will only be allowed to use their mobile devices before and after school, during passing periods, and during lunch. The district says cell phones and other personal devices are a distraction and have undermined the educational experience. Last year, State Superintendent Chris Rakedahl called on school districts to restrict cell phone use in the classroom. And finally today, Western Washington is about to get some much-needed rain as a low-pressure system moves in later this week. The Seattle area may see 1/4 inch of rain this weekend after 2.5 weeks of no precipitation. The National Weather Service says by this time in June, we usually have around 3/4 inch of rain. Next time on Seattle Now, we are 1 year out from the FIFA Men's World Cup. Sports correspondent Vaughn Jones has done a bit of research to see how the city is preparing.
The weather is gorgeous. There's all these Pride events, Juneteenth events, Mariners games, concerts. The city really comes alive in the summer, so the level of activity during the World Cup combined with a Seattle summer level of excitement might get a little tough.
Hear that Wednesday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you tomorrow.